It reminds me, several years ago, I was coaching a leader, and he had gotten to a real senior role, but he was really introverted by nature, really good execution-oriented guy. But if you weren't talking about business, he really didn't have any desire to be in the room. So he started attending these real senior meetings, and the feedback that I got when I was doing the 360 interviews was one of the senior executives. She said to me, when the meeting's done, he's the first one out of the room. Like, he's out of the room, off to another meeting or something else. She said he needs to hang around and just mingle a little bit to pretend like he likes us. Which I thought was kind of funny. But she says, because when he leaves like that, we think, well, this guy doesn't even really want to be with us. And this was the senior team. So I think there's something about getting there early and maybe even hanging around a little bit later at the end to ensure that. I love that. It's beautiful. Well, let's talk about your book. I love that you dedicated so much time to this important topic. If folks are struggling with just visibility for themselves, where do we start? What's the starting place?
I think the first place, and I wrote the book around a process called RISE, which is reflect, ideate, select, and evaluate. And I put together those 4 steps because I think you have to start a little bit introspectively, right? Understanding, why do you want visibility? What is it going to do for you? How are you going to stay motivated to continue to take action when it may be harder than you realize to do things? And you're not really having the time because you have all these other priorities. How are you going to be prepared for that? So that reflect part is really important, to spend that time up front, understanding what you want and where you want to go with it. And then I give a list of ideas for people, allow them to select 2 or 3 to start with, and then continue to get feedback and evaluate how they're doing and whether they want to do new ones. It's what I find is most interesting, and it happened for me, is that you start to get treated differently. The more actions you take, the more confidence you gain, the more boldly you'll speak up in meetings. And those are things that people start to notice. At first, they're like, it's a one-off. It seems interesting. They're doing something different today. And then the more you keep doing it consistently and intentionally, it changes the way people see you. And they can't put their finger on it, but all of a sudden they start to hear things from you that are different. And that's when you really know that your visibility is taking, a whole level up from where it was. And then you just want to continue to do more of it.
Great. So I want to dig in on that one a little bit. I imagine that for a lot of folks, doing some of these behaviors, like the great story that you gave, showing up to the meeting early, sitting at the table, doing something a little different, is going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel unnatural. How do we remind ourselves that while this feels so uncomfortable and so unnatural, it's the right thing to be doing?
For me, it was hard to do it for myself initially. I actually started doing it for my team first, because I'm, more of a person who cares about their team and wants them to do really well and wanted to give them a lot of visibility. And so for me, I started focusing on them first, and then I saw people starting to see different things about them. And I thought, okay, this is working. This is great. I'm gonna spend more time focused on myself now and helping them get visibility, but myself as well. Because that's the thing that I didn't realize was happening. It was fine that I sat in the back of the room and was invisible. But what I didn't realize was how much I was hurting my team. Because if I'm not talking about myself, that's one thing. That's about me. But if I'm not talking about them, that could really hurt them. And that's not fair. So that was something that was kind of this aha moment for me when that all came together. And I just realized I have to do this consistently for myself, but also for them. And it may be uncomfortable, it may be scary. Some things in the book that I talk about are trying to plan what you're going to talk about in a meeting, plan out some questions that you're going to ask. The worst thing that can happen is you get in a meeting and you can't think of anything because of a panicked moment, and realizing that you don't know what you're going to ask or what you're going to say. So planning those things in advance helps you be calmer, helps you think about the things that you're going to do and where you can jump in to conversations.